Welcome back, everybody. You are tuned in to Get Well Soon, the red pill content of Welly F, aka Moriarty. And I am back with another episode later than I said I would be, only because I had other recordings to do this weekend that, in my opinion, went pretty well. I did some IG live content over on the No Boundaries podcast page on Instagram, and I've been just keeping up with other Chinese virus things and just keeping up with the stock market and the news. And this weekend in particular, I binged a couple of movies, and it was actually pretty interesting. Some of the movies I watched. I'm hoping that I can talk about a couple of them this week. I mean, I may be able to talk about both of them today. The first one I want to talk about is Demolition Man. This is a movie that came out in 1993. Director Marco Brambilla. This movie, I think, has about a 62% on Rotten Tomatoes. In my opinion, even when I saw it as a kid, it was a fairly average movie, just based on the fact that as a child, I was watching it just from an action standpoint. Always was a big fan of Wesley Snipes. Sylvester Stallone, young Sylvester Stallone was cool, young Sandra Bullock was hot. For the most part, I would definitely say that Sandra Bullock was, as Lenina Huxley, man, oh man, when I say her as an actress, she should have been embarrassed to take this role. Just knowing that this role came a couple of years before the role of Speed, I'm assuming that it had a lot to do with her growth as an actress, but this role was definitely embarrassing to me because it's one of those things where I look at her role and I'm like, okay, now I can see why feminism has took this road, because she definitely was more background noise and just almost like, oh man, it was hard to watch her, knowing that I know that she's a pretty good actress, man. I can't take that away from her. She is one of those actresses that when you talk about female actresses, she's definitely top 5, top 10 argument. Can't deny that. But this is one of those roles where, in my opinion, she probably looks back at this role and she's embarrassed. This movie to me is important to talk about just based on what we're going through today. And I didn't take any notes on this, and I'm just going based off the fact that I just saw it last night again, and it was interesting, because you're living in this is 2032. You have a society of what I perceived as a bunch of sissies, wimps, people that don't understand that in the end, human corruption is inevitable. And I think a lot of these people I think in this modern day, what I believe was San Andreas, Los Angeles, a mixture of some California cities that came together and made this San Angeles or whatever. Long story short, this utopia, especially that socialist and communist pray for, this movie put out a specific point that even if you achieve this greatness, there will always be somebody that is going to come into power and use their power for bad or evil. And this movie, in this very soy boy filled society, was a pivotal, how do I say it? This was the perfect example of why it's not going to happen. You can say, well, everybody needs to get on board. Well, that's not reality. It's not going to happen. And when I was watching this movie, I'm talking about everything from thought crimes to the elimination of anything that was deemed unhealthy. Like, this city was in full control of the government. Sort of how everything is going during this pandemic. This is how things were going in the era of San Angeles 2032, the Demolition Man era. And obviously, most people that don't know, I mean, just a quick synopsis. You have two guys that were from the 20th century. They were cryogenically frozen. They go 30, 35 years in a cryo chamber, and the bad guy, which is Simon Phoenix, played by Wesley Snipes, he's released for reasons unknown at the moment. And he comes out and he just takes advantage of the modern day world, because the modern day world is full of sissies and pussies. And nobody knows how to deal with his type of evil, per se. So what they have to do is they have to go back and get the cop John Spartan, which was played by Sylvester Stallone. And when they go back and get him, he comes back, and there are moments that you see that are quite odd, and a lot of people that are looking at Demolition Man right now are gonna notice things like how these people don't do handshakes, because the transfer of body fluids and germs are a big deal. They say that's how society was. That's how society ended up becoming collapsed, because just the overall transfer of germs, bodily fluids, sicknesses that they couldn't get under control, and then the great earthquake of 2010 just shifted everything. So, and they even get to the point where it's this funny joke where they get to the point where they had to stop using toilet paper, and there was something with these 3 shells that Sylvester Stallone didn't know how to use, and that was a ongoing joke. But there are some weird things in that movie that make you say, this story writer was on to something. He saw, it's almost like Aldous Huxley with A Brave New World, or even George Orwell with 1984. He saw something in his current time that made him say, I can see the future being like this. And being in 2020 right now and realizing that we're only 12, 15 years away from what this movie is portraying as a utopia, it really seems foreseeable. Like, you couldn't even curse, you couldn't smoke, caffeine was outlawed. If they deemed it as unhealthy, it was illegal. And there are people around us right now that would actually like a society like that. They would like a society where every time you did something that went against your nature, you basically were penalized for it. And there were moments in this movie where they would even try to make cracks at heteronormative behavior. I think basically when dudes would come up to each other cursing, giving each other handshakes, Sandra Bullock made a comment about, that's just, that's how insecure heterosexual 20th century man act. And I kind of cringed when I saw it, but then I was like, hey, I guess if that's how you feel, because in the end, and let me just fast forward here, in the end, you needed this heterosexual insecure guy to come and save the day, based on the fact that within your world, the man that shaped their society and the man that was responsible for releasing Wesley Snipes' character, he's basically the guy that was responsible for forming this new San Angeles. He was like this dictator / pope in a way. And even he knew that once Spartan was released, he knew that, this is probably going to be a wrap, because I know that this Phoenix guy is a good foot soldier to have on hand, but this Spartan guy is just as bad. So when these two guys clash, my plan is gonna falter. And not only that, and obviously this movie is 40,000 years old. I don't feel like I need to say no spoiler alerts, but understand something. When you have somebody like a Joker type character, like a character, especially from what I would say, when you have a traditional villain, somebody that you really can't control, somebody as soft as this character, as this Pope character was, like, he wasn't going to be able to control somebody as evil and vicious as Simon Phoenix. And don't get it twisted, this Pope character was just as evil. He just masked his evil was masked because they saw him as a savior, when in actuality he was just an opportunist. He got everybody right where they wanted him, Right, he got everybody right where they wanted them, and he pretty much felt like he was cleansing society. And one of his main objective was to exterminate the underground world of their leader. And their leader was just a guy that was just, he's a simple guy. And it basically had a quote. The guy that they were going after, I believe his name was like Edgar Franks. He basically was just like a leader of the free world. And it really reminds me of today's pandemic when you see that, honestly, it's about 10%, maybe even less, of people on this planet right now that are really in the revolutionary mindset to where they're like, hey, I'm not feeling this lockdown, this quarantine thing. This is not what's up. Like, you even have people in Ohio protesting right now, realizing that the measures that are being taken by our government are a tad bit extreme for something as what most of us would say is seemingly not that threatening. It's already been proven that this thing has a 99.9% survival rate. Like, you can put out all the false numbers and all the crap that you want, but at the end of the day, when this is over, the critical thinkers, the conspiracy theorists, the rational people are going to look back at this time, and they're going to look back at the facts, and they're going to realize, why were things really shut down? How come all these measures were taken just so we can keep people safe from a virus that had a less than 1% death rate? And like I said, I think Demolition Man is worth watching from a red pill lens when you're awake and you're seeing life for the thing that it is, which is, it's a bunch of fuckery going on. And when I see movies like Demolition Man and other movies that I saw this weekend, it just further lets me know that there are people among us that they're prophetic in how they see things. And that's one thing that I do value about old school Hollywood. I think new school Hollywood is more along the lines of, yes, we're definitely trying to brainwash you. We're definitely trying to destroy society. I think that people in my era that got to enjoy 20th century Hollywood, we took that for granted because there's nothing like it anymore. Like, it's embarrassing what comes on the television now. When I see the modern day male superhero, I'm not even scared anymore. Like, I'm not even necessarily scared. These guys are not even intimidating anymore. That's why people like Thanos and Joker come through and actually shake the core of people's beliefs, because they're like, damn, like, those men are bad men. But at the end of the day, that is realistic. Like, there are men out there that are bad just like them, but people don't want to face that truth. They want to turn their back to that truth, because that by turning their back to that truth, they feel like they're hiding from the truth. They feel like the truth can't touch them. It's almost like when you're scared and you go under the bed at night, you think that the monster can't get you because you're under the bed because it can't see you. But in reality, you're just under the bed, and that monster can still come and get you. And, people in society just need to face that harsh fact that there is a lot of bad and evil out there. And I think Jordan Peterson said it best. One of the only ways to overcome, bad and evil is to face it. You face that bad and evil within yourself, and you face it in the external world, and that's how you overcome it. But anyways, I don't want to rant any longer. Like I said, check out Demolition Man. I think you'll enjoy it. Damn near, I want to say that movie's at least 30 years old or close to it. Don't mind my math. And get a good laugh at Sandra Bullock being the ultimate damsel in distress, clueless. Like I said, she should be embarrassed. And that's probably the only thing I hated about that movie, because I felt like even then, I mean, she had her moments where she stepped up and she showed, some girl power, but at that point, to me, it was too late. But anyways, man, make sure you rate, comment, and subscribe. Think for yourself. Turn off the TV. Enjoy your day. And until we meet again.